and welcome to Beauty as Past TV. I'm Ritu, editor at Beauty Space Media. And today we are very honored to have with us Simrita Dhillon, all the way from US. And Simrita is the founder at SANDA and an expert in the beauty sector. I would say beauty and luxury retail sector. Simrita is the founding partner of SANDA, a US-based market entry firm advising US fashion and beauty brands on entering the Indian market. With over 20 years of experience in fashion, beauty, luxury retail, and international market entry, Simrita has had opened the first Xenia store in India way back in December 1999, and the first Hugo Boss store in 2003 in New Delhi. She's also represented Marvin Traub, the ex-chairman of Bloomingdale's in India. Well, the introduction will just go on and on. So I'll briefly say that from 2008 to 2018, Simrita co-founded the Indie-Fashion Brand GOLMAAL, about which we'll talk in details. In 2013, Simrita was nominated as the US Department of State Fortune Global Women's Mentor to the Mentorship program. And she met and was influenced by the late award-winning educationist Mrs. Saida Naik of the Naik Foundation. She is also a fashion writer and commentator occasionally for various leading magazines in India and abroad. She holds an MBA from SDA Bocconi, Milan, Italy. So welcome to Beauty as Past today, Simrita, and thanks for making it.
Thank you so much, Ritu. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So, Simrita, given your illustrious career for over the last 2 decades, what are the different reasons you would like to know to start with? Why you got into luxury retail and distribution in the first place, in a consultancy also as well?
Right. So Ritu, like you mentioned in my introduction, I started my career in 1999, right when organized retail started in India. As you may remember, Crossroads Mall opened in August 1999 in India, and which was India's first mall ever. So my career pretty much kind of coincided with the birth of organized retail in India. And it was, right after I finished my MBA, I was hired by ERMENEGILDO ZEGNA, which is the world leader in luxury men's clothing. And it just so happened that Zegna was very, very keen and already sold on the potential of the Indian market because they had a lot of Indian customers in their Bond Street store in London. And Zegna was also sort of an early mover in the China market when China had just opened in 1991. So the founders and the CEO of Zegna were ready to get into the Indian market. I was just finishing my MBA. I was the only Indian at that point in time from India who, was a graduate of SDA Bocconi. So it was, I think, just the perfect timing.
Would you like to tell us how, in these 20 years, there must be too many learnings. What are the main things that you'd like to share with us?
Right. So, the biggest sort of learning that I obviously have is that India is a great market in terms of size, be it luxury retail, whether it's the mass sector or the masstige sector, right? The consumer in India has an appetite for consumption now, and conspicuous consumption. And we have obviously, tons and tons of homegrown brands as well in the last 20 years, especially in the last 5 years, but also international brands. One of the biggest learnings for me that I share with international brands looking at the market is India is a medium to long-term approach, and the brands have to be ready for it. India is not going to be an overnight success just because of sheer numbers. What happens many a times with international brands is they get very, very excited about the size of the market, right? I mean, we are exactly just if we just look at the middle class, that market is 300 million people, and there are 350 million people in all of United States, right? So these numbers are obviously very, very exciting, but you know, the biggest thing really is that the brands have to have a skin in the game. They really have to understand that the dynamics of the Indian market and the Indian consumer is a very, very discerning consumer. And they are very educated consumer. They really have to be convinced about the value proposition. And we need to bring in the best things and not last season or the, you know, previous season's things. So I think, you know, the market definitely is ready and the appetite is there, but it has to have a, you know, we have to have a long tail, and there's no hockey stick growth that you just get in the market and it's just going to be, you know, all roses, etc. So as long as the brands have that mindset, and they're also ready to invest in the market, and they're convinced about the fact that it will take time, but if they do things right and they learn and pivot when, you know, we all will have some mistakes or some learnings, you know, whether it's a pricing correction or it could be a local partner that we would want to change. As long as that agility is there and that mindset is there, then it's a great market.
Absolutely. Actually, I totally agree with you. In fact, looking at the beauty market itself, you know, we've seen brands looking for distribution, you know, quick distribution, and then they have also, as a result, been, you know, gotten hurt because of the fly-by operators that we have in distribution.
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
to be very careful. And I have always recommended to brands that if you're coming to India, it's better if you do a joint venture with a very strong, you know, partner, rather
Absolutely.
than, you know, just be there somehow with a distributor. So that's a very good point, Simrita. And so moving on, now, how do you view the Indian market? You know, now that we've been through a huge crisis, global crisis with COVID-19, and the next couple of years, how do you see things panning out? And any stats or trends you would like to share?
Yeah. So Ritu, I feel this is actually, you know, obviously it's unfortunate that COVID has hit India so badly, and so many people have been economically hit. But as we know, in every downturn or in every, you know, such pivotal moments, seminal times in history, you know, these are also times of transformation, right? So right after, as you know, 1929 recession, there was a big boom. I really feel that the digital transformation that India embarked on since 2015, 2016 has just accelerated multifold because of the fact that, you know, the country has been in COVID and so badly hit, right, for the last 18 months. And I really feel that the customer has shifted pretty much permanently, and these shifts are not going to be reversed. You know, whether it is adoption on marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart, or other e-commerce players that are really sort of gathering momentum and getting more and more customers online. Obviously, you know, as we know, the bulk of the Indian population is the millennial and the Gen Zer, but even my parents, for example, you know, baby boomer generation, I have seen them ordering on apps now because they're on COVID. So they are ordering their food deliveries on Zomato. They are very, very adept on using Amazon. So I think the country really is going through a huge digital transformation. And I think that's very, very wonderful, because it's really going to facilitate international brands coming in with ease, because one of the big problems that we had when we were just, you know, when we India did not have the e-commerce play yet, and the playbook really was just brick and mortar doors, was infrastructure, right? So when we, for instance, to go back to my Zania experience, we really were kind of looking at the top 4 metros as the cities where we wanted to park our stores. And we were hoping that the other cities, tier 1 and tier 2, would probably, those customers would come and shop when they come to these top tier, the metro cities. And very early on, even at that point in time, we discovered our customers were actually in tier 2 cities, tier 1 cities, and we used to do trunk shows to go there. Because that's where the disposable income is, and that's where the time is. People have that kind of time to really educate themselves through digital real estate like Instagram and YouTube, and read product reviews. And they also have that money and the appetite, right? So I think because of this digital transformation, it's going to be a very exciting time moving forward for the consumer market in India.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. And so are there any specific areas you see growing more than others? Like you see, of course, luxury, again, that's another question that comes and that I want to ask you is, how do you see luxury growing? Do you see the market coming down a bit given the circumstances, or do you see a certain a different class emerging? How do you see the luxury happening now?
Right. The luxury market is pretty much historically averse to any downturn, because the luxury consumer, as you know, is not very affected by, by the such downturns or economic slowdowns, so as to speak. During the pandemic, I think China has produced record number of billionaires, right? There's so many people, so many companies who have pivoted into making masks, into making just the glass bottles of the vaccines, and so on and so forth. So I think even in India, the number of people who are millionaires and billionaires who have the high net worth individuals has really grown. And anyways, the statistics are that after China and the US, India has the highest number of new millionaires that we are adding to the country. And these people are, they want to buy the latest things. Tesla is, is coming into the market. So whether it is premium and luxury cars, it could be private jets, it could be the best, and the most expensive skincare routine, accessories, luxury accessories, etc. I think that market and that consumer set is also expanding in India.
So you see luxury growing, and
yes,
okay, both in
yes.
fashion and beauty.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Okay, so is there anything specific you would like to add in, in the sense of, how do you look at the beauty market and how it's going to change post-COVID?
Yeah. Sure. Right. So, you had asked me for some numbers, and I get really excited when I kind of look at what 2025 is going to look like. So just to share a snapshot, by 2025, there will be about 975 million Indians with smartphones. So pretty much everyone who has a pulse in the country is going to have access to a smartphone, access to 5G connectivity and 4G connectivity, which is, I think, a huge advantage and a huge number. The second piece is that 500 million Indians are on social media. They are social media users, and 52% of these are millennials and Gen Zers, which is also very, very, interesting. And in terms of the online shoppers, the number looks like 350 million Indians are going to be online shoppers by the year 2025, and the current number is 110. So it's going to grow like, pretty at 3x, 4x year on year, right? So the beauty market per se, the beauty and personal care market, I think is at a very good inflection point. It's already in the top 3, top 5 sort of fastest growing markets in the world. And the size of the market is touted to be 28 billion by the year 2025. So I think in terms of consumption and for international beauty brands looking at the Indian market, this is a good time to kind of set foot or have those exploratory conversations to really develop the right blueprint on how to get into that market and really be ready for the big wave of consumption that we are expecting by, in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Now, Simrita, it would be interesting to hear from you about your experience with Golmaal and where it's headed.
Right. So, Ritu, I started, Golmaal with my brother in the year 2005. After obviously, having lived in Europe and having worked with Zegna, I had a very, very European eye and sensibility in terms of the tailoring and the cuts and the fits, right? Because that's what European and Italian fashion houses are all about. And especially Zegna is known for its sartorial prowess. They're one of the best. Zegna suits really fit like second skin. So with that kind of lens and eye that I had, and I just didn't see anything that was available for the Indian consumer in the affordable category, which was well tailored and well constructed. Right. So obviously we have very, very wonderful Indian designers and who play with Indian fabrics, but those pieces are very expensive, right? So, and a designer piece is anything like, $1,000 plus. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and this really came from, when I used to go back for the men's fashion shows, I wanted to represent my country and wear something made from, our wonderful rich textiles, but I also wanted it to be well constructed, and I couldn't find anything in that segment. So from that, white space, we created a fashion brand. We were very inspired by the Zara model, which was, from the runway to shelf in 12 days, and we created a unique sizing formula and cut linens and Indian cottons and jacquards and our wonderful textile heritage that we have, and created modern clothing. I did a lot of color blocking, which was very new for that time. Lots of linen dresses and pantsuits, so very modern contemporary take. But our clothes were pretty much starting at $25, 1,500 rupees to 3,000, rupees. So Golmaal pretty much was born of, from that pain point, but it kind of took a life of its own. And obviously I had the relationships with the press. So when I started it, we were very well received by all the editors of fashion magazines in India. But after that, we just kind of exploded through word of mouth. Every satisfied customer, because of the fittings, would bring in 10 more customers. So we just used to stand back in our retail environment and let our customers be our evangelists and tell their friends, you have to try this and you have to try this. So, and I really feel that word of mouth is nothing like word of mouth promotion and publicity or ambassadors. Your customers become your ambassadors. That's the best sort of endorsement for a brand. We also had, then created a line of kurtis, these short kurtis, and got into ethnic wear because that was obviously a request which came from the customers, and so it was pretty much a total look and dressing the modern woman, from the time she wakes up in the morning to go to her office or to meet her friends, all the way to, the Ganesh festival or Diwali, and right into, into evening wear as well. The only thing we didn't do was bridal. But we also did some light, for bridesmaids, etc. We did those Indo-Western gowns. So that's a bit about Golmaal. The company was backwardly integrated because, like I mentioned, we had a unique sizing formula, which no manufacturer wanted to take on because it was a big headache. They were like, that's crazy if you want us to cut fabric like that. So we had to really create our own workshop. And from a tiny workshop with 7 people, it grew to about 200 people. And we also did third-party manufacturing. So it was a very exciting and heady time.
Okay, awesome. So that must be huge learning as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
With a brand like
absolutely.
That. So now coming to mentoring, you have, there have been mentors that you've had, and in business, we always talk about mentoring. If you're, as we grow or when we are starting, mentors are always important. So tell us what you think about mentoring, and do you think it's absolutely must for entrepreneurs, or they can grow with their own learning, or some of them are family businesses. So, we, in India especially, we see a lot of family businesses. So you get it from your grandparents and you inherit it and you go on in a certain way. So,
right. Yeah. So, Ritu, I was exposed to the power of mentorship when I was selected for the Fortune US State Department Global Mentorship Program, right? So like you mentioned, we do not have that ecosystem. I think it's coming in, but at that point in time, I'm talking about, like almost a decade ago, it wasn't really there. So yes, my brother was my mentor. We were working together. So we would be, run things by each other. And then of course, but mentorship, as I learned when I was selected for this program, is very different. It's very deliberate, right? And it's beyond our well-wishers. Obviously, our family is our biggest well-wisher when we start on an entrepreneurial journey, which is a very, very hard journey, and you need to have a certain kind of mindset. And I think now, we always need to have that fuel of people who believe in us when we don't believe in ourselves. But the constructive mentorship that exists here, and the sort of ecosystem that exists here, is really remarkable, and it's different because you kind of can go to and build that network and a relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship with someone who is relevant to whatever you're building as a company or as a business, right? And that can really help an entrepreneur to navigate those difficult decisions that always will take them or take their company and company's destiny in one way versus the other way. So I think that outside approach of someone who's actually built something and has had a proven track record and seen things in a different way, and if they can really offer that constructive advice and criticism at pivotal times during a company's destiny, is really, really wonderful. So even if I were to reflect and see, some pivotal seminal decisions that we made at Golmaal, had we like a mentor like I'm talking about, we probably would have made different decisions, right? So I think the power of mentorship is immense. I have gotten so much from my mentor. It's been such a rich relationship, and these are relationships which pretty much last, more than just a couple of months. These go on for years if you build them the right way. The thing that I would like to share is that it's not just a one-way relationship. So it's not just a take relationship, but it is a give and take relationship, right? So the mentee also has to give, whatever. I don't know how to put it, but it has to be a give and take energy. And when that's the right dynamic, of a mentor-mentee relationship, which can be very, 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 pivotal to successes. If you see historically any big company here in the US, most of these people, entrepreneurs, and I'm talking about very successful entrepreneurs, have mentors. Elon Musk, genius in our times, Larry Ellison of Oracle is his mentor, right? So Steve Jobs had mentors. So I think we all can benefit from it, and I'm just loving the fact that things are changing in India, and there are constructive ecosystems where mentors and mentees are sort of patched together and connected as well. So it's wonderful.
Oh yes, yeah, things are changing quite fast. So, so tell us about your plans. If it's not too ambitious to talk about the next decade, do you think there can be any surety in these times? Like, given what we've just experienced. So, how do you prepare for the next decade, and what are your
Right. Ritu, the way I like to strategize and prepare is to have, 2 or 3 territories to play in. Because when you do that, even if there's a downturn in one, you have the other territory which is growing, or 1 or 2 categories to play in, right? So for instance, at SANDA, we bring fashion brands as well as beauty brands to the India market as well as the China market. And because we're playing in both these geographies, I feel that we are set up for success because, God forbid there is a downturn in one of these markets, probably the other market will take us through that time. So one of the learnings that I have to share for any entrepreneur is to always have 2, 3 revenue streams, right? So if one dries up or there's a difficult time, then you have 1 or 2 other, categories or business incomes sort of taking you through that time. So that's how we're approaching, and we're planning for the next 10 years. We're playing in 3 markets. We're playing in the US market and the India market and the China market. I think these are very big markets, and they're only going to grow from strength to strength. Each market has their own unique advantages and unique way of sort of navigating and winning in each market. And we have partners in China. We are also activating the US market through partnerships. So as long as you work with people who are sort of better than you, and bring the best in you, be it partnerships and relationships or clients, I think that's that there's no stopping one from success. And I think pivoting and really listening to what's happening is also very important. So agility is also, I think, key, and innovation, of course.
So I would just go back a little bit to getting to know a bit about your plans for the growth of the fashion and beauty segment specifically. And in India, you've launched a set of brands in beauty. And you also represent
Flower Beauty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beauty. Yeah. So tell us about that as well. And is it a brand that you think is suitable for the Indian market? How are you looking at it?
Right. So, one of the reasons I really resonated with Flower Beauty by Drew Barrymore is because it plays in the masstige category. The price points and the formulations are fantastic. The brand is on point with the current trends. It's clean, it's vegan, the colors are great. It's got a primer story, it's got the foundation mix, it's got all the elements, all the secret sauce, of what a woman is looking for in her beauty, regime. And obviously, I think Drew Barrymore is a A-list Hollywood star, of course, and she is relevant in the market with the audience, and besides that, the brand here in the US, when we look at brands, we really look at what they're doing in their home market, and Flower is really sort of growing from strength to strength here in the US. They're in 3,000 CVS stores. And Drew is, she's got her own show. She's doing, she's a great entrepreneur herself, and she's very hands-on in this business. And the company, which is really sort of, in partnership with Flower, is the Mesa Group, and they're one of the best of the best. So we kind of look at all these things of, what the company is, what the brand story is, and if that brand story would resonate with the market. And I think really for me, the price point and the value versus the price. If you look at the formulations, I will send you some of our Petal Pout lipsticks. They are really, really on point and really fabulous. So that's why I'm super excited about really growing Flower beauty in the Indian market, and I think we will have a good place and point of view, and relate to the Indian consumer and be in their makeup kit.
Rolling it out in the market?
We've already rolled it out. Nykaa is our partner in the Indian market. And we will be launching some new additional, very exciting SKUs by Diwali.
Yeah, because I just feel with color cosmetics, especially, it's a bit of a tricky business, especially when you're online, and you have to be available offline for people to really experience the full range of products.
Yes.
So yeah, and now so we have a segment where the two questions are very compulsory. One is we're talking about a lot about gender these days. We're talking about how gender has impacted a person's career trajectory. And we would like to know that, has being a woman brought challenges to you, in your career? And if yes, then what kind, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah. Ritu, 100%. I think, women, we have to work harder to prove ourselves and to have a seat on the table, right? So definitely early on in my career, even when I had the education and the training, and I'd really sort of worked hard, and we were only 18 girls when I graduated from business school in Italy, by the way. So the ratio was like 5 boys to 1 girl or something like that. But even after that, when I started working for this Italian company, it was hard. It was hard to be taken seriously as a woman very early on. But I think we just have to endure and persevere, and if we really are, and just get better at your craft, right? So just don't listen to naysayers. And my advice always is believe in yourself, but really work hard and have that knowledge, right? So after a while, you will get that seat on the table, and it does take time, right? It's just that we women have to prove ourselves a little more to get that voice on the table, to get that seat on the table, and to get respect on the table. Having said that, I feel in India, the people that I work with, the companies that I work with, they're very respectful to women leaders, and I have had very, very interesting interactions. And I also work with very accomplished women, in India. So I think it's wonderful to see all of us kind of break the glass ceiling, if I may say so, and be in leadership positions, either as entrepreneurs or in the C-suite. It's really, really wonderful. And I think empowered women do empower women. It's our job to ensure that we also pull our tribe along with us when we, when we get that seat on the table.
Absolutely. So now coming to the real stuff, the real stuff, what I mean is, we are a media that connects, B2B in cosmetic and wellness business. And we like to know from our guests, what's their personal care and wellness, choices are. So we love to hear from you, how do you take care of yourself, your fitness goals, whatever you would like to tell us.
Absolutely. I'd love to share. So, I start my day with a morning routine. So I have a very, very structured 1 hour in the morning, and I jump straight into pranayama, 30 minutes of pranayama and meditation with a teacher. So I really can't miss it because it's on my calendar, right? So even if I don't want to get out of bed and it doesn't happen because I have someone out there. So I think that accountability or really having a teacher is kind of helping me do that. And then I do some yoga, like 30 minutes of yoga, and start my day. So that's my morning. It really sets me up for, a productive, structured, and I really feel that the concentration and just productivity kind of increases, especially when you have so many decisions to make, and you want to look at things in a clear way, and also be very calm under duress and stress. In the evenings, I do 30 minutes of physical exercise. It could be, pretty much weight training. I like weight training quite a lot, or just kind of being in the gym. That also sort of, right after the day is over, it helps me sort of unwind. So these are two pillars that I feel that always work for me in terms of fitness. In terms of wellness, I'm a big skincare junkie. So I do have my self-care Sundays, the hashtag self-care Sundays. That's always been where I whip up my own. I like to do my DIYs, but obviously, now that we work with so many wonderful skincare brands, we get so many, of their hero SKUs to try. So it's a privilege to really, try the latest ingredient or try the latest mask, and, creams, etc. So skincare is definitely, I just get excited about skincare. So that's my, that's my wellness routine.
Okay. And what about the salon? You visit the salon often, or is it more, do your own thing?
Yeah, I used to love visiting spas and the salon. I used to look forward to, those kind of breaks, which I think are so important, and they really renew and refresh us. But obviously, because of COVID, I have not. Obviously, it's not prudent to make those part of our, monthly rituals. But I'm really looking forward to the time when we can go back to the salons, and I can't wait to have that back in my monthly calendar.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So anything else you would like to tell us? Any scoops about what you're rolling out next, in the next few months? Anything you would like to reveal? we don't mind.
Well, I would like to share that we are bringing some very exciting skincare brands by the end of this year. A hair care brand as well in the must-teach category, which is going to be in full, and the secret ingredient is argan. The formulations are fabulous. So lots of excitement in the hair care and skincare category coming up. And also in the beginning of the quarter. As you know, Ritu, these, just the registration, etc., takes time, right? So a lot of things now will also trickle into Q1. So I would say the next 6 months are going to be very exciting. We're looking forward to really launching a lot of brands in the Indian market.
So that's fantastic. And thank you again for joining us today, Simrita. And we wish you all the best for all the endeavors in whichever market you go to. And let's stay connected. And we would love to hear of all the new news, breaking news from your end.
Thank you so much, Ritu. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.